Hey, everybody. Welcome to Dad Challenge Podcast, Real Crime Podcast, where we talk about real crime, which is true crime, but I call it real crime. How's everybody doing? Roll call. Where's everybody from tonight? Sorry it took me so long to get on. I was busy. I'll tell you a little bit about it in a second here, but I like to see where everybody is coming from. Yeah, it's really cool. Everybody's here. Everybody's here tonight. Pretty big story, actually. Pretty crazy. Poland, holy smokes. Atlanta, probably warm there. Texas, Rochester, Ontario. There's my Ontario. Lots of Ontario tonight. Throw up your Canada flag if you're in Canada. So just update today. I obviously didn't release a video today, so I knew I was going to do this tonight. And I got here, it's on my forehead, like allergic reaction or something. Isn't that crazy? What's going on? But I went shopping today in the States, and it was absolutely awesome. Let's try this. Oh, that's silly. We're not doing that. What's going on here? Anyway, yeah, so I went over to New York and did some shopping. Man, I love Hobby Lobby. It's so much fun. So, like, that's bothering me. I think I got hit or something. I'll put a hat on. How about that? It could look better. How's that? Is that better? Yeah, I just went over to New York and did some shopping. So anyway, yeah, today, and while I was over there, I was obviously getting a ton of messages through here. Thanks, Troy. Appreciate it. And obviously tons and tons and tons of messages about what's going on today. We're going to watch the video about her coming into court. I've got that full one through Fox 13 Utah. We're going to watch that together. Then we're going to read is this on like a Facetune thing? Get out of here with that. That's gross. Like a weirdo. So, yeah, this is just a crazy, crazy case. So I've been covering 8 passengers for a long time. Way before any of this happened. For years and years I've been covering. One of my first videos after Micah Stauffer was doing the 8 passenger stuff, and they've been around forever, and like we've been calling them out for years. And I'm not saying that I saw this coming, but like it's gonna eventually have to happen eventually in one of these channels. So it's really cool. So not really cool. It's really cool that we get a chance to sit here and talk together, have a crowdsourced conversation about true crime, real crime. And I always like hanging out with you guys and getting your opinions, your thoughts on things. Sometimes I miss things. Lots of times I miss things. And a lot of you guys have some great things to say. And I really appreciate you being here. So that's really cool that you are here. And there's like 1,600 people already in this chat. So, yeah, maybe like, hey, Will, how's it going? Maybe. I don't know if I saw the crime part coming like this, but I definitely know that there's, abuse inside these families for sure. I don't know. I have to check it, buddy. But yeah, if I'm blurred, go check your quality settings. Make sure you reset it. But yeah, like at minimum, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes of family vlogs, at minimum, 99% of it's fake. And these kids live in a world that's completely different when the camera's on and when the camera's off. And this is just one of those things that happen. So big time trigger warning. And hopefully my mods can remember to say this a lot before I get into especially reading the plea. Please know that there's a major trigger warning in the things that we're going to be discussing tonight about this case, because it gets into detail and things that we didn't even know. Annie had sent it to me today, and I got to read a little bit of it. And like, it's worse than we thought. Like the depths these people will go while being on camera saying they're perfect moms, perfect parents, and their lives are so good. In the meantime, in the back end, some craziness is going on. So make sure, big time trigger warning. Make sure you have the mental capacity to hear what we're about to say tonight. And I'm not even joking. Okay. Be careful with this stuff. It'll live in your head rent free. Okay. So with all that said, let's get to this 6-minute video from Fox 13 News Utah, and we'll talk about it. We'll get into it and we'll watch this together. I've yet to see this. I'll full screen it here. All right, here we go.
Ms. Franke is now here.
So I just want to point out, and I will be stopping and pausing this Sorry if that bugs you, but just the way it's going to be. She smiled at the family that is there to support her. Okay. So like, don't support Ruby. I don't care if she's your family. After especially what we're about to read today, you don't support her. You sit on the other side, or you don't go. Why would they go? Like, can someone give me an explanation why you think that the family went? Why would they be there supporting her? You don't think they're supporting her, Erica? Why would she smile at them? Thanks for whoever's gifting memberships. Appreciate you. So there's a bunch from the family, a bunch of them here. Yeah, the same family who said the videos that they're not supporting her are now sitting here supporting her. I agree with you on that one. That's kind of weird. I'm going to change this to 90 seconds because chat's going a bit quick, even for me. Probably smiled because she hasn't seen him. I don't care. Like, it's really weird. Are they there to support her or to hear her sentencing? The sentencing isn't today. She's just pleading guilty today. They're not here for the sentencing. As far as I'm aware, I could be wrong for that. I thought her sentencing was in February. Am I wrong about that? And then Bonnie had made a post about how she was so nervous about today and like made it about herself as usual. Bonnie can't help herself, man. She cannot help herself. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out, but let's get to this.
Mr. Winward, we are scheduled for a waiver hearing. Is there going to be a waiver today?
There will, plus a plea agreement, Your Honor.
All right.
I'll ask the bailiff to hand you if it's been executed.
All right. Mr. Winward, you have discussed with Ms. Franke a preliminary hearing.
How did she curl her hair? Why did she, what's going on here?
Involved in a preliminary hearing. She understands she has a right to a preliminary hearing on all of the charges in the case. She understands what the charges are, and she's prepared to waive a preliminary hearing in the case on all charges.
She is, and that is contained in this agreement on page 7 as well.
Very good.
You can tell she's absolutely so nervous about this. She's feeling, but she's kind of smiling and stuff like that. It's kind of weird to me. It's really weird.
All right. I've been handed a plea agreement, and it appears to be signed by Ms. Franke. Ms. Franke, did you sign this agreement?
Yes,
And you did that today? When did you sign it?
on the 18th.
Okay.
On the 18th, dumb judge. Man, she's just, it's Ruby being Ruby.
You've read it carefully?
Every word.
Your signature represents to the court that you've read it carefully, that you understand what you've read, and that you agree to all of the terms. Is that all accurate?
Yes,
You've had sufficient time to ask questions of your counsel, to go over any questions you have. You're ready to go forward.
yes,
You don't need any more time.
I'm ready.
Ms. Franke, is anyone pressuring you to enter into this agreement?
No,
Anyone promising you anything I haven't been told about?
no,
Anything that's not in the written plea agreement?
no,
Are you under the influence of alcohol or drugs today?
no,
Are you under the influence of Mormonism?
Is there anything today that could in any way interfere with your ability to understand the agreement, its consequences, anything?
no,
No physical condition, no medication, nothing?
no.
Any further record, counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Oh, she glares at the, look at that. Someone said in the chat that she stares at the prosecution like I don't know. That's really weird. Like her body language is really stressing me out right now.
Mr. Winward, we ready to proceed?
We are ready to proceed.
All right, then. Ms. Franke, how do you plead to count 1, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
Guilty.
To count 3, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
Guilty.
To count 5, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree felony?
Guilty.
And to count 6, aggravated child abuse, a second-degree
Looks like she's gonna cry, but like the fake family vlogger cry.
felony?
With my deepest regret and sorrow for my family and my children, Guilty.
Nah, she's fake crying. That's that fake family vlogger crocodile tear garbage that we've seen so much.
There is a factual basis set forth in the agreement that is a stipulated factual basis, counsel.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That is correct, Judge Walton.
The court finds that the factual basis is sufficient. All of the terms of the agreement are stipulated, including that the court obtain a pre-sentence investigation report, correct?
Correct.
There won't be any argument about whether prison is the appropriate sentence, and there's an agreement about the 4 counts running consecutive.
That is correct.
All right, the court finds then that Ms. Franke's pleas are made knowingly and voluntarily. The court therefore accepts and enters those pleas. The court orders the preparation of a pre-sentence investigation report to be prepared by AP&P and the Department of Corrections. Counsel, what about sentencing on February 20th? I think, do you and your client agree to waive time, counsel?
We do agree to waive time, Your Honor.
February 20th, I believe, is a Tuesday. Is that right? 10 a.m.?
That works for us, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else for today?
That works for us, Your Honor. Where else is Ruby going to go?
Your Honor, maybe, I've heard the court say this several times in a different fashion.
Just want to, like what Wesley's saying here, worse than Micah. I still think Micah should have went and James should have went to prison before they did.
We are not binding the court to any specific sentence, and the court retains its right to sentence as it sees fit. I just mentioned that this is not a Rule 11 plea, but although it's a stipulated statement of defendant.
Counsel, approach, please.
There's the family. You see them over there? They still making videos, still exploiting their children. They mute it, obviously, so you can't hear. Okay, well, we clearly can't hear what they're saying here.
No, Judge.
Nothing from the state.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. We are in recess.
Okay, there you go, everybody. Pretty full for what it's worth. That was Ellie, I think, or the other one. I don't know their names. I don't think there is a we're gonna read this in a second. Someone is saying she could face up to 60 years. Yes, it's 1 to 15 years per. We're gonna read this thing in a second, but it's 1 to 15 years per count that she's pled guilty to, and she pled guilty to 4 counts. So the max sentence is up to 60 years. So she's definitely going to prison. Like, I hope so. Does anybody think in his chat that she won't go to prison? I'm not saying that angrily. I'm just like, does anybody think? Because I honestly believe that she's going to prison for a while. Her charges are consecutive, meaning she won't get a lot of time. She won't get the maximum on each charge. My assumption is 7 years. Okay. Okay, judge said she's going to prison. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, you're not going to get off with no prison time, but like, some people are saying 4, some are saying 7. I'm wondering, like, absolutely, like, are we saying, so people are saying 4, SD minimum is 4 years? Like, I'm honest, I want 10 years or more. I want 10 years or more easily. A year in each charge, what you're saying, and then she gets time served, and she'll be in prison at that point for like a few months. Someone says she'll get out, should get 5 years and be out in 2. There's political interest involved in the GSA. Okay, I think Jody will get a tougher sentence. Yeah, I honestly believe this is true, Rachel, that Jody's going to get a tougher sentence because this plea agreement shows that Ruby Franke is going to testify against Jody, which means she's going to throw Jody under the bus, which means that Jody's like, they're all going after Jody. They want the big fish, right? The people that are going to go be witnesses against Jody is going to be insane if there's a trial. Okay, if there's a trial, there's going to be people stepping up in that thing we haven't even seen or heard from yet, and it's going to be crazy. Yeah, I'm going to read this charges. So this is the trigger warning, everybody, ahead of time, just so you're aware. I'm going to read this. And I want to make sure you are all sufficiently trigger warned. Please, please, please do not forget to take care while we're reading this. This is really, really gross stuff. It's Julie DeRue behind the sister that moved to a different state when Sherry needed her selfish family. Okay, Julie, not Ellie. I keep getting those two mixed up too. All right, here we go. I'm going to share the screen. Here's my document. Hope you guys can see this. This is what I agree to. If she gets less than 10 years, justice won't be served. I kind of agree with that. Also, again, yes, trigger warning. Please, please, guys, just be careful with this stuff. It gets really, really gross. Getting into this real crime stuff, this true crime, when you start reading into like this stuff can sit in your head, and you got to be really careful, okay? Oh, you saw Josh at the end of that video, her mother mouthed, "I loved you." I mean, to be honest, it is her mom, but at the same time, just don't do that. Just don't go. All right, so here it is. This is Eric Clark. So this is the 5th District Court, Washington County, the state of Utah versus Ruby Franke, first crime. So I am pleading guilty to the following crimes. First, aggravated child abuse, section 75 Utah Code. 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison, a fine of $10,000 plus 90% surcharge, $53 court thing. Thank you. We're going to go with case 2, second degree felony, which is aggravated child abuse, and then they're all 4 are aggravated child abuse, just to save time, and all 4 carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years in Utah State Prison and a fine of $10,000. So max fine of $40,000 plus, a few $100s more for a core surcharge, security fees. I've received a copy of the information. This is what she's, again, a secondary felony that the defendant initially and knowingly inflicted upon a child seriously physical injury, and they are all basically the same thing. They're saying, I knowingly did this. And then now this is when we get into this part here where she actually talks about what she did. Oh, all right. This is public documents, yeah. Says this, okay, from approximately May 22nd, 2023 until August 30th, 2023 in Washington County, Utah, the defendant, Ruby Franke, intentionally or knowingly inflicted and allowed another adult to inflict serious physical injuries upon her children that were ages 9, 11, 12, as more fully described below. Again, trigger warning, everybody, okay? The defendant's actions involved the physical torture of RF. Initially, RF was forced to do physical tasks for hours and days at a time. These included wall sits, which, if you don't know what wall sit is, it's really, really difficult to do a wall sit. Okay, it's like an ab workout and a core workout. Carrying boxes full of books and downstairs, working outside. Eventually, RF was forced to do outside labor without shoes in the summer heat. He was forced to stand in the direct sunlight for several days. He was forced to remain outside at all hours of the day and night for extended periods of time. These actions resulted in repeated and serious sunburns with blisters and sloughing skin. RF was denied adequate water for several of the days he was required to remain in the summer heat. And he was punished when he secretly consumed water. He was denied sufficient food, and when given food, he was given very plain meals, like rice and chicken, while others in the house ate regular and more flavorful meals. He was isolated from other people and denied all forms of entertainment, including books, notebooks, and electronics. In addition, after RF attempted to run away in July, his hands and feet were regularly bound. Binding included being tied to the defendant and to weights to the defendant, by the way, Ruby, it looks like that's what it's saying here, and to weights. Many times the binding included using 2 sets of handcuffs, one on RF's wrists and one on his ankles, at times with RF lying on his stomach. Ropes were used to tie the 2 sets of handcuffs together so that his arms and lower legs were lifted off the ground. That's absolutely torture. The bindings resulted in injuries to RF's wrists and ankles, where the handcuffs cut through the skin and damaged the muscle tissue. These injuries were treated with homeopathic remedies covered with duct tape. Then the bindings were placed, and they're talking about like spices and stuff that's not really going to fix it. And I'm sitting here reading this, and the only thing I'm kind of thinking to myself is that, how dare those people sit behind her and support her? There's no other reason they're not there to say, I told you so, we hate you. They're not doing that. They wouldn't have showed up. Okay? They wouldn't have done that. How dare, after reading this, those people whisper, if they did say that, I love you to Ruby. Do you love her? Do you? Do you love this child? After what she did, 2 sets of handcuffs, tied those with ropes, arms in the air. He snuck water and was punished for like a life-sustaining thing that he needed, working out in the sun. And you're going to sit here and support Ruby? You're going to come to court in her side of the court and stand there in solidarity with her? Is that really what you're going to do? And how did Kevin get away with this? How did Kevin get off with this? Specific instances of abuse committed by the defendant include 1, kicking RF while wearing boots, holding his head underwater, cutting off oxygen by placing her hands over his mouth and nose. Now, I'm not a lawyer or anything. Is that not attempted murder? Is that really not attempted murder? Is Jody going in for more than just aggravated abuse? Because I see that that's aggravated child abuse, but that to me is attempted murder. You're putting your booted leg on some kid's head, and then you're trying to drown them holding his head underwater and cutting off oxygen by placing hands over his mouth and nose. That's attempted murder. How is she? This is not. This is. I'm a 10th of the way through this thing. There's no justice right now. She gets to plead this, and she might serve minimum 4 years, and it should be probably more. It should be like forever. After you're reading this, do you have any remorse for her at all? And like those people supporting her? This is attempted murder. I don't understand the law. That makes me so angry. We're reading this. She's pleading guilty to this, and it's not attempted murder? Count 2, the actions described above caused severe emotion harm to RF due to the fact that they began in May and escalated through the summer months. So May, June, July, August. This kid was being tortured for 4 months. Was being denied water, was being denied oxygen, was having his head held underwater, was being kicked while they're wearing boots for 4 months. Yeah, she pleaded guilty. They shouldn't be able to, like, you should be like, nope, we're going trial. We're going to put you away for the rest of your life. This is craziness. It's crazy that it's not attempted murder. And somebody who knows more about the law, clearly I know nothing about the law, because in my brain, that's cut and dry. If that came out earlier, why weren't the charges escalated past that? And what is the precedent set for trying to kill somebody by cutting off oxygen and placing their hands over their mouth and nose, holding head underwater? That's not abuse. I mean, of course it's abuse. But why does that not rise to the level of something else? Is that like, does someone else know? Like, holy cow. Like, this is a good point Darian says here. They were going to kill him if they get caught. Like, what would happen if he didn't run away? Like, this was only escalating more. Yeah, exactly. Any judge or any person in Utah or any prosecutor or whatever, I don't care, either side, if you're from the Mormon church, you should have to be excused from this. That's a conflict of interest. Crazy. Now let's continue here. The action described caused, okay. Additionally, the defendant and another adult regularly sought to indoctrinate RF and convince him that he was evil and possessed, and that he needed to willingly be obedient to avoid punishments, and that the punishments were necessary to repent. He was also told that everything that was being done to him were acts of love. Acts of love. That's what this kid was told. And this is a kid. Don't forget, this is a child, everybody. This child will believe this. Acts of love. The defendant's actions also caused severe emotional harm to EF. Other than binding in the specific instance of abuse RF was subjected to, EF was subjected to the same treatment as her brother. She was also isolated and forced to do physical tasks, remain outside, and denied food and water. She was also repeatedly told she was evil and possessed. The punishments were necessary for her to be obedient and repent, and these things were being done to her in order to help her. EF was convinced that she was evil and needed to go through these things to repent. So these kids are being told they're evil and they're believing it. Guys, and I need you not to forget this. I need you not to forget this at all. That these people were obeying the rules and the laws of the Mormon Church, of the Book of Mormon, of the fundamental sect of the Mormon culture. And I know a lot of Mormons out there are like, it's not us, it's not us. Sorry. This is what they believed, and it came from your religion. And all religions, to some degree, have done something like this in history, including Christianity. Okay? So I'm not saying that nobody's right. Okay? So I just need you to remember this like modern day stuff going on in the Mormon Church right now. And that's why the Mormon Church wants this gone. I'll try. I'm in a different chat, so all right. The defendant's actions caused 2 or more physical injuries to EF. She was forced to work outside in heat barefoot. Why don't I remember shoes? She was also forced to run barefoot on dirt roads for an extended period of time. EF's feet were repeatedly injured by, and she was repeatedly sunburned. When examined on August 30th, these wounds were apparent by scabs, blistered, and sloughing skin. Holy frick, man. Unfortunately, kids don't have the same rights as adults, so it's lesser charges. That's so stupid. There should be bigger and heftier charges for crimes against children because they're the ones who can't stand up for themselves. I don't understand that. How does the law justify that? Even like, how does the law justify that? I'm entering these pleas voluntarily, blah, blah, blah. I know I have the right to be presented. If I have waived my right to counsel as certified, blah, blah, blah. I don't care about all this crap. Presumption of innocence. No, you're guilty. Here's the potential penalties. I know the maximum sentence that may be imposed for each crime to which I'm pleading guilty. I know that by pleading guilty to a crime, but doesn't the court like give you like a softer sentence if you plead guilty so that it saves court's time? Yeah. And I need you guys to understand this too. Like, so I'm just going through this quickly. All right. I need you guys to understand this too. Like, she's going to jail for a long time and she's getting off easy. Yeah, I understand that you don't want to put kids through the trial. And it's her mom, but dang. Yeah, we're watching Jody's hearing too. Like, again, don't forget there's 2 people here, and a lot of people are saying, well, it looks like Ruby was taken advantage of by Jody. Ruby, like, if you look at the past and the history of the Passengers channel, Ruby's not a pushover. She's not someone that was, like, easily, like, she was the head of the house. She was the one who wore the pants. She was the matriarch of the family. She was the, like, even to the other families, they all looked up to her. She was kind of the mage leader of all of it. Like, she was the leader, okay? She wasn't someone that's, like, easily swayed. She swayed others. Okay, she convinced Kevin to join this crap too. And don't forget, Kevin is a big part of this. And I can't believe he's getting away with all this. I cannot believe he's getting away with all this. But she's not someone who's just like, oh, yeah, I'm so dumb. She's not like that. Ruby, no, I don't believe it for 1 second. I don't think she should be able to like plead this at all. This is the system is garbage. To save time, we're going to give you a more lenient sentence if you just plead guilty. Well, you pleaded guilty, it should be 15 years each. I want 15 years for each of these things. And I can't believe it's not attempted murder. As I cannot believe it's not attempted murder after what she pled guilty to, holding him underwater, cutting off his airway, basically putting her, that's attempted murder. Exactly? Kevin's getting nothing. You know, Kevin, he's not getting nothing. He's getting money. He's getting the estate. He's getting the house. He's getting the 8 passengers money from YouTube. He's getting the savings accounts. He's getting it all. Kevin not only didn't suffer any consequences of this, he's dumping her, leaving her behind. And did you know this about the Mormon church? He can go get remarried and be sealed to her, to the new lady. No other woman in Mormon church can be sealed to another man. Right? So he's off. He got off clean. Like the heist of the century. This guy gets nothing. Nothing. He doesn't go to jail. He doesn't get any flack. He divorces her. Even in his religion, he wins. He gets the money, the house, the van, everything. He gets all of it. Gets off scot-free. If she testifies, again, this is the plea deal. She testifies against Jody. Jody gets the bigger sentence, and Ruby gets off a little bit. That's what it is. That's the deal, is that she'll testify against Jody. And so she has nothing to lose here. That's a no-brainer. No-brainer for Ruby. I agree with you, Spooky Time. Sherry and the kids should sue Kevin and Ruby for all the money. They need all the money. Absolutely. And you notice, and again, a lot of people are like, well, they're just there for court. Half her kids, most of the kids aren't there. You don't see Sherry there. You don't see Chad there. They don't support it. Where are they? What makes the injustice of this whole thing is the craziest thing. And if this is how the justice systems work, and they do, this is so very frustrating on so many levels, because it is not just child abuse. That was attempted murder. And if this kid didn't escape when he did, what would have went down? It would have been a Lori Daybell story. That's what would have happened. Sherry should get everything. Sherry and the kids, and then delve it out to the kids. Put it away in their savings accounts, trust funds till they're 18. I agree with you. They should get it all. They should get it all. Yeah, imagine what we don't know what was done previously. And I think part of this is that Ruby doesn't want this to come out, and then the kids testify against what they really were like. Don't forget, this is a huge black eye to all of family vlogging too. This isn't just a huge black eye to Mormons. This is what goes on behind the scenes. Not necessarily the torture and the handcuffs and stuff, but the fakery, the terribleness of it all. Yeah, imagine what wasn't in the discovery. I hope she is too. I hope she's doing this, because Kevin doesn't deserve a penny. Here's the thing too. How much money is left? Because they have a nest egg that they have saved up, and it's going towards Ruby's super expensive lawyer. That's how many hundreds of thousands of dollars this guy already taken from these kids, this lawyer. He's taken as much as he can get. Lawyers are we all know this, especially if you're getting into high level stuff. Lawyers just need your money, and they'll make it so that you have to pay them more money. Lawyers are crazy expensive. Yeah, scot-free, just gone, done. And again, as I said before, and in his religion, he gets us scot-free. He can divorce her, then be sealed to another woman. Ruby says in the documents that she did this to her children. She is guilty. We can now say, we not have to say allegedly, she is guilty, and of more than we thought, of grosser things than we even thought. And I think, hands up if you agree with me in this, a lot of us thought it was just Jody doing all that stuff, and that Ruby was just kind of knowingly knew what was going on and didn't stop it. Now we realize it was Ruby doing those things too. So she was kicking her son with a boot on. She was holding his head underwater. She was blocking his airways. Ruby admit guilt to doing those things. She is guilty of those things. I think a lot of people thought it was just Jody convincing her to let Jody do it. But Jody was telling Ruby to do it because it needed to be, that's what was happening. I say 10 years minimum. 20 is too little. The whole family gets off. I cannot imagine knowing somebody was doing that. Nothing, you know, maybe the family didn't know, like Ruby and all those didn't know. But all you have to do is kind of like find out where they are and ask. It's not even the we didn't know. It's that you didn't want to know and you didn't actually seek it out either, because that was going on for 4 months. In 4 months, you didn't want to find out where this kid was. You didn't stop by to say hello. Nothing. Make a phone call, an email, a text. Nothing. 4 months. And you're just like, nothing? You're such a tight-knit family community? Nothing? 4 months? Get wrecked. I got the feeling that the judge didn't like the interaction. Hope he goes full for that. I hope he does too. I hope he does. I think if Kevin was going to get kids, he'd have them already. It's a good point. Kevin should be jailed. I agree. I cannot believe this guy got off. I cannot believe it. Bonnie, yeah, Bonnie out here building the mansion, showing everybody her mansion, crying in her mansion. I'm crying in my mansion. I'm sorry. 4 months? You didn't have an inkling something was going on? Okay, there's divorce, there's separation, there's like, don't talk to me, nothing. And you're like, okay, well, we got to figure this out. Also, don't forget that it's not like Jody was like some innocent person. There was so many allegations out there floating around amongst the Mormons in general, too, about who she was. And this family didn't want to know. They didn't want to know. And here they are sitting behind Ruby in court supporting her. You can't make it up, man. Since they put a time frame down, she still get charges for anything uncovered. Okay, I hope so. I hope they uncover more. Yeah, they turn a blind eye because they don't want to help. They don't. These people only care about themselves and their channels and the money that they make on their channels. Like, Bonnie is one of the worst of this whole thing. Like, outside of obviously Ruby and Jody and Kevin, but Bonnie's like just disgusting in this thing. Just disgusting. That she's just like, I'm not gonna let her ruin my channel over this. I'm not gonna let the attempted murder of my nephew ruin my channel. It's my channel. How dare Ruby try to ruin my channel by attempting to murder her son? How dare Ruby? That's what I'm getting from this. I hope Sherry gets a chance to speak. And I hope she downloaded all the hard drives. Yeah, Bonnie always found a way to make it about herself. Just crazy. Just classic narcissist. CPS failed these children. That's another big one here. CPS absolutely failed these children because they were called multiple times. Police were called multiple times. And don't ever let Julie Deru and Ellie and Bonnie ever sit there and tell you, we tried our best. We did everything we could. Because no, you dang well didn't. No, you didn't. Now that we know what we know, there's no way you tried hard enough. You didn't even try. You didn't try. And I bet you Sherry knows what they did. And I bet you Sherry's going to hopefully tell one day that they didn't do anything. They probably made a call or a text one day and was like, or like Ruby's like, don't talk to any of my children. They're like, okay, we're going to honor those wishes. I don't care. You don't honor those wishes. When you know that Ruby's a part of a massive cult for someone who alienates women from their husbands and has relationships with them, and you know that's going around and you know about it because everybody knew about it, you find out, you go check up on those kids. It's your responsibility to check up on those kids. Those are your family. I asked lawyer, about the attempted murder charge. He said they may have thought it would be hard to prove her intent along with other factors. Crazy. What do you mean prove intent? What other intent do you have sticking a kid's head underwater and trying to suffocate him? What is the intent? Prove what? Why do you need, what intent do you have to prove? The intent is in the action, is it not? Sherry doesn't have any of the kids. The two older girls keep running away and they're all in care going, oh, so sad. The court denied Sherry to be in the court. Why? Yeah, I'm thinking February 20th at 10 a.m. Is that what we heard? Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there. And we want 10 years. Like, this is the type of thing you go protest outside of the court. Like, throw the book at her. Throw the book, protest out court, like make your voice heard. Why are we saying this only happened for 4 months? Kind of use doesn't just spark up out of nowhere. The sentence should be much longer. Yeah, I agree with you. Like, you don't just do that. That's something that you've like been entangled with for a little while, for sure. I agree with you. I hope you're wrong, Steph. I hope you're wrong. When's Jody's next thing? Does anybody know? This would be great. The judge should ban children from being shown on social media until 18. I think this should go to Supreme Court. No more children on social media whatsoever. I don't care if they're your kids or not. I don't care. No more posting any kids, no matter if you make money of them or not. I'd comply. And I have a couple pictures of my kids on the internet for sure. I'd absolutely comply. I think this should be a Supreme Court thing. No more kids on the internet. 16, whatever, even 13. I'd be good with anything under teenagehood. Anything. No more. Not allowed. Social media platforms, your responsibility is to block all that stuff, demonetize it, take it off, cancel it, throw it out. Like, YouTube has no problem demonetizing and taking down stuff that they don't agree with politically. But when it comes to children, no problem. I'm just saying, I know a judge can't say that, but I'm saying I'd like to see that. Yeah. Being a parent, this hits a lot harder. Everybody go hug your kids. Protect your kids. This I agree with. Kevin should have at least faced child neglect or abandonment to some degree. Yeah, he should have been there to protect them. If he could walk from them, he shot. Like, he didn't try it. Like, has anybody got to ask him, like, what did you try to do? Did you try to do anything? And why? You're the dad. You have parental rights legally. I don't care if Ruby said, don't want you around my kids. I don't care. Unless she had something on Kevin, so he stayed away. Like, that's the only thing that's really making any sense to me. He has Cornishes there. Okay. There's something wrong. He had parental rights. They weren't divorced. They were just not even, I don't think they were legally separated. They were just normally separated. He had parental rights, and he could have got the police involved and said, I want to know where my kids are. I want to know what's going on with this. He didn't do any of that. What does Ruby have on him? Why didn't he do any of his parenting duties? Why didn't he protect his kids at all and use his parental rights, which he was legally allowed to discover where his kids are or what was going on? There's something super fishy about why Kevin didn't do anything, because you can even say Bonnie, Julie, and Ellie and all those girls, like, they didn't have any rights because they have no rights over those children. You could say that. Okay, fine. But Kevin did. And where was he? And why is he not being held accountable? Because he did have rights over these kids. Crazy. It's mind-blowing that he got away. Yeah. Always thought it was just weird. Just MI. No problem. Troy, I really hope this is true. I hope they're banning kids on social media. I think from being on social media or being used on social media. I hope they ban kids from even being shown on social media. I suspect it's Mormon related. If it were Mormon related, the Mormon religion, the man is the head of the household, spiritual head of the household. So no, that's not an excuse you can use. Kevin is supposed to be the man of the house. He's supposed to be the spiritual leader of the home. He makes the choices like that. But we all know that's not true. But at the same time, he still had parental rights and could have gotten police involved to find out where his kids were. Like, they must have been living at Jody's for months. And he didn't ask why they were living at this strange woman's house. Didn't ask questions like that. Where are my kids? And why can't I see them? He should have been seeing them as much as possible, at least half the week or weekends or something. It sounds like for 4 months, he didn't see his children. Why is nobody asking why Kevin didn't see his kids for 4 months? So far, I don't think they're charging Kevin with anything. I don't care if he claimed he doesn't know. He had. How do you not see your child? Like, these are children. It's not like a teenager or an adult. You don't see your kid for 4 months. I couldn't go 2 days without being missing my children, like, so hardcore. When I travel, I miss my kids. I say hi night to them. I'm on FaceTime with my guy. 4 months. Crazy. Yeah, I think you're right. I think he hadn't seen them for longer than that. But for the 4 months when this stuff was going on, like, this is just, who doesn't? What? And then now he's like, I love my kids. I want my. Now you want your kids? Why don't you want them then? You only want them now that their mother's in prison for abusing them, attempted murder, in my opinion. Now you want them? Where were you 6 months ago? Where were you when these kids when they actually needed you to protect them? Where were you, dickhole? Kevin, where were you? I can't believe he's just walking away from this. Nobody, no courts, no prosecution, nobody's saying, are you even allowed to depose him and say, where were you? Where were you? I think Ruby probably did. I think Ruby probably alienated from his kids, but he also had legal rights to his children. There was no divorce. There was no court order, nothing. He had legal recourse to his children. He had legal ability to see them. Okay? Ruby had something on him. Ruby had something on him. The younger son escaped in July but got caught. Are we sure about that? Yeah, he showed up. And don't forget, not only the stuff they hadn't seen his kids in months and months and months and months, just left them, abandoned them to be abused and attempted murder, but then wanted his daughter arrested for breaking into her own house because of the footage that she got off those laptops. Kevin, you just enjoy the outer darkness. Enjoy it. Tiffany should be in jail because she's doing so. Yeah, Tiffany, you guys following Tiffany Rockwell case? It's like crazy like this. It's crazy like this. And it's going to be coming up soon. Keep reading the plea. His escape in June, July is in there. What? I missed. What? Where was that? I'm typing the word escape and I don't find it. I missed a whole paragraph. Hold on. Okay, I typed in the word July and I still can't find it. Okay, maybe I need to like turn this into like a readable document. Maybe that's what's going on. Oh, it's because it's been signed. I cannot convert it to text file. 5th paragraph. Okay. Fifth paragraph. I don't see it anywhere. Anyway, I believe you. So, okay, he ran away in July, and then when he got back, they abused him more. Craziness. Under count one. Okay, thank you. I'm reading count one. The defendant's action involved the physical torture of RF. Initially, RF was forced to do physical tasks for hours and days at a time. These included wall sits carrying boxes. Eventually, RF was forced to do outside work. He was forced to stand in direct sunlight. He was forced to remain outside all hours a day for extended periods of time. It doesn't say anything about I must be reading. Yeah, sorry, I can't see it. Second paragraph of count one. Okay, here we go. Yeah, you're right. In addition, after RF attempted to run away in July, there we go. His hands and feet were regularly bound, binding. So after his attempted. So yeah, you're right. Sorry. I just wanted to clarify all that. Make sure I was reading it too. Right. I just missed that part. Yeah, that's craziness. I wish they would highlight those things because that's a pretty big deal in this thing. And it seems like it's just in passing. It seems like that should be another count and be like, okay, then this great crazy thing happened in July. He tried to run away. This was the whole story about that runaway thing. And then it escalated crazy past that. That's what it should be. Like, seems like it's just such a tiny little detail that gets missed. I'm still so flabbergasted. One thing that's so crazy about this is that after all that we've covered about these people, like this is where we are right now with Ruby Franke and A Pastors. Like, this is crazy. She's going to spend at least 4 years in prison. Okay. And she should spend the rest of her life in prison, according to this, to be honest with you. Who honestly thinks that the judge is going to hand down a harsh sentence? Does anybody think the judge is going to use her as an example? Did she believe what she pleaded guilty to? She had to if she signed it and the judge asked her. And in this plea deal, again, correct me, I don't know because I'm not a lawyer. Is it her lawyer who wrote this saying this is what we know of? And that's why they're kind of like so nonchalantly just throwing things in there. Like they don't want it to be super duper detailed, but they're making it so that like we did this, like are these Ruby's words for their, for lack of a better term, are these her words saying I did these things? This is a good point. She's only pleading guilty so the rest doesn't come out. Her lawyer and the prosecution agreed to this. Is that okay? All right, let me see if I can get a poll going here. I'm going to put a poll up. There you go. There's the poll. The minimum 4 years, I think, listed is how this is working because each count she pled guilty to carries a sentence of 1 to 15 years per count. But if Jody takes a plea to what? To a plea for what? To say, yes, I did all these things. That's it? Because she's not going to be able to testify against Ruby, or can they testify against each other? And it kind of like zones it all. I don't understand how that works. Makes me think what she's going to say at the stand at Jody's trial about the abuse. Yeah. Like if it's this bad in this plea agreement, okay, how much worse is it going to get when all the details emerge? Because it's probably worse than this. She can't get 16, the max. I mean, I was saying in general, overall, because she can get up to 60 years, which is what Joanne says here. You can get up to 60 years. Not going to happen, but we're wondering. Yeah, that's a better question. And I think we'd all agree here that she deserves a max sentence because I didn't know she attempted to kill her child. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Is a blank poll. What? I see it. Sorry. Lots of people are voting 12 plus years. If the poll is blank, just refresh the feed. If Jody takes a plea, we may never get through the full story and full justice. And that's the system for you. That's the system. These kids just fodder for the system. Just click the bottom of the poll and it should open up. Church still has not come out against Jody. Are you serious? Are you serious? Church is staying mum in the whole thing. Holy tabooly. This is just so crazy. I cannot believe this is where we are in this conversation about family vlogging, that this is where we landed at this point in time. Not waterboard, but held head underwater. And that's by Ruby's words. Yeah, Nesha, if you look here, if you guys are just joining us in the plea agreement here, I'll show it to you. Look at this. Look at this craziness. Where is it? Really? Just watch this. Look at this right here. Defendant's action involved physical torture of RF. RF was forced to do physical tasks for hours, days at a time. These included wall sits, carrying boxes full of books. Eventually, RF was forced to go outside, labor his shoes in the summer and heat. He was forced to stand in the direct sunlight for several days. He was forced to remain outside for all hours of the day and night for extended periods of time. They resulted in serious sunburns, blistered and sloughing skin, was denied adequate water for several of the days he was required to remain in the summer heat, and was punished when he secretly consumed water. He was denied sufficient food. And then here it says, in addition, after RF attempted to run away in July, his hands and feet were regularly bound, tied to the defendant into weights. Many times the binding includes 2 sets of handcuffs, wrists and his ankles. Lying on his stomach, ropes were used to tie. He was hogtied. So his arms and lower legs were lifted off the ground. That's hogtied. He was hogtied. The bindings resulted in injuries to his wrists and ankles. And then look at this. Down here, specific instances of abuse committed by the defendant include kicking RF while wearing boots. Okay? Holding his head underwater. Cutting off oxygen by placing her hands over his mouth and nose. Imagine Ruby, this person on the internet that's been like, I'm a sweet Mormon mom, literally putting her fingers over the nose and the mouth. What other reason would you do that? What are you trying to do when you physically do that to another human being? Crazy. Utah is hot in the summer. Yeah, it is. It's hot here in the summer in Canada. I can't even imagine how much more south you are and how hot it gets there in the dry heat in the mountains. That's so heartbreaking. That's so heartbreaking. This is Alyssa, I agree with you on this. I believe that Jody doesn't think that what she did was wrong. She honestly, and again, this is what's wrong with the Mormon religion, because that's what she's banking this on. She's banking on, like, you know, living in distortion. Now, when we go back and hear all those things about living in distortion and all that kind of craziness, like, they believe that living in distortion was to a degree that you could torture a child and it was justified by their biblical principles. Just so you guys are aware. Don't ever forget it, people. People still go to Mormon churches. Why? This cult was based off the Book of Mormon. Why would you still go to a place that doesn't call this out? I try to stay out of anything that involves judging a person, but I hope she gets a maximum amount of time. Well, this, you can judge this person. I think we can all agree that you can judge her. She is saying that she is guilty. We can judge her. If you tell people that you are guilty of holding your son's head underwater and cutting off oxygen by placing your hands over his mouth and nose, and you plead guilty to that, and you said that you did that, you deserve everything coming your way. Yeah, her lawyer mentioned distortion in the plea. She's sick to her stomach and scared because she's basically, this is the best deal she's going to get. There was no other way around this. This was it. Coming out what came out, and the kids are going to have to testify, blah, blah, blah. This is all she had. And this is the best case scenario for her, is minimum 4 years, maximum 60. So I hope the judge really, really just has a bad day when he comes in for sentencing. I hope his sock falls off in his shoe. Someone cuts him off on the highway on the way to work. His coffee spills on his crotch. I hope he has the worst effing day of his life on the way to court that day. And I hope when he gets there, he's just mad. He's just angry at the world. And he's just pissed off. And that he uses that to sentence her. I hope it. You don't hope bad for a judge because the judge is innocent here. But I hope, I hope he gets his belt loop caught on a door handle. His printer doesn't work when he's trying to in a hurry to get out of the house. That's the kind of stuff, right? He's just angry. They get his coffee wrong at Starbucks. Gets a flat tire. Just shows up pissed. That's what I'm hoping for. Ex-Mormon here. This cult is real and it is sick. This goes a lot more than you think. If you are a Mormon and watch them, run. Yeah. Jody's not taking this trial. Not after what happened today. No way. She's going to plead because she wants less time. But don't forget, Jody has, I think, one of the most expensive lawyers in Utah that, represents rich Mormons. She has that dude. So maybe she's well, let's do this. Because OJ got off. Crazier things have happened. December 27th for Jody's next court date, according to Utah Tribune. Okay. We'll be watching for that. Better believe we're watching for that. I hope, and I want to say this out loud, I hope this never escapes Kevin. I hope this follows him for the rest of his life, no matter who he's trying to date. I mean, the Mormon church doesn't really matter. Doesn't really care. But I hope he loses all his money, and I hope the kids get everything. I hope he loses everything. Everything. That's the amazing reason I don't feel bad about judging her. There you go. She might not have a choice. The prosecution has to accept the plea, and they might not if Ruby is testifying. Interesting. Okay, good. Her court date was canceled this morning. Interesting. Okay. Of course, Bonnie's exploiting her child. Of course she is. Bonnie's disgusting. And of all the daughters, I've covered Bonnie the most, obviously, over Ruby. And Bonnie's the one I see the most of Ruby in, by the way. They're very similar. And I honestly believe this, that Bonnie is actually worse than her sister. I believe it. Thank you, Brooke. I appreciate it. You get way more narcissistic and heavy, gross parenting vibes from Bonnie. You do. You get those things. You know that Bonnie runs the show. She does everything. She forces everything. She like, you know, nobody messes with Bonnie. She runs a tight ship and she's very scary. 100%. Oh, apparently if you turn off dark mode on YouTube, you can see the poll. Law enforcement criminology major here. Intent is the mindset, not the action. The intent was to kill the child. It was to punish them. Yeah. No, I appreciate you. I know what you're saying, and I obviously you're right, because you're sound like you're way more educated, and I understand that law works. But I tend to look at this obviously from more unlearned, emotional place, right? Like I almost like, why can't it be? And I understand that. I just wish it wasn't. You know what I mean? I feel like the action itself is like, okay, well, you did it. So maybe if it wasn't first degree attempted, maybe it's second or third degree attempted. If that's the thing, I know it's not a thing, but that's what I'm saying. I wish it wasn't that way, because to me, if you were doing that and I walked in on you doing that to a child, my first impression is like, why are you trying to kill your kid? Right? Just craziness. But yeah. And then in the end, how does anybody prove intent? The DA does not have to offer a plea deal to Jody. Of course. Yeah, I saw that Ruby's parents were there today. And apparently someone in my chat said they whispered to Ruby, "We love you." Do you? What counts were dismissed? I think there were just 6 counts of aggravated child abuse, and they just dismissed 2 of them. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, attempted manslaughter. Well, I mean, isn't manslaughter like you didn't mean to do it? Like it's like an accident. Like if you have an accident and you didn't mean to do it. I mean, I understand what he's saying. I understand what that law guy was saying. It sucks. It does suck. The counts, sorry. The counts dismissed were regarding starving. Really? That's the one they dismissed? Why? Yeah, this is a good point. I wonder if this is how Ruby and the Sims are treating his kids, and that's why the family supports her. Like, I don't think that the mom and dad, they want to come out how these kids were treated. That it's in the whole family's best interest for Ruby not to go to trial. The whole family. That's it. And they're all breathing a sigh of relief. Maybe they came, maybe they said, maybe Ruby talked to them and said, look, I'm not going to do this unless you guys show up in solidarity and support for me. Right? And they showed up, because her doing this really, really takes the pressure off of all them, because all the stuff that was going to come out in court is going to hit them. It really will. They're going to go down to their childhood and everything else. And they're all breathing a big, heavy sigh of relief right now, because Ruby doesn't have to testify. And there's no trial. They all got off scot-free too. Yeah, I did see that. I don't have it in front of me here, though. Laughing out loud and not pleading guilty to starving. Meanwhile, don't forget to bring your lunch to school, 5-year-old. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's so much evidence of her doing this to her children. So much. And calorie counting and telling a kid, watch what you eat because you get fat. Like, there's so much of that with Ruby doing that. And I'm going to go back to a comment that I read when we were watching that thing, that Ruby cried more when her kids danced to a secular song at school than she did here, pleading guilty to literally almost killing her kids. She cried more that they danced to apple bottom jeans. In court, Ruby said she was sorry to her family before apologizing to her kids. Imagine going through torture at the hands of your own mother. How, like, exactly, right? That's why this is like, again, I hope the book is thrown right at her. Like this, you have one job as a parent, to love and protect your children. And neither of those things happened here. 2 jobs, I guess. I'll take a look here. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh, what? Just trying to open it here. This is what Bonnie wrote. Feeling super nervous waiting for my sister's hearing today. I can't even put to words all the emotions I am feeling. How does she honestly make this about herself? I can't put to words the emotions I am feeling. I pray for the judge to know how to handle this, and I pray that anything her kids will feel like the outcome. What the F, Bonnie? Are you really this obtuse? Are you really sitting out here being like, I am just in a wreck? F off. You're not the one pleading like, oh. Bonnie is the stupidest person in this family. That's for sure, too. That's one thing. What an idiot. Yeah, this is a good point. My mind is still blown that the money used for her abusive defense was made on the backs of the same children. That's applaud your point here. The money that Ruby is using for her defense and doing all this to pay for this lawyer was literally made exploiting those same children. Unreal. Rebecca, is Ruby getting everything she deserves? Because it looks like she's not going to get everything she deserves. She's not going to get everything I don't believe it. Proving intent is taking into account the circumstances up to the crime. So the child had levels of discipline. Attempting to kill would only be a few or singular action. Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense. I don't like it, but I see what you're saying. I think once Kevin gets a hold of, once she goes to prison, I don't know if she's allowed to have any, if she still owns anything, but Kevin will own it. I hope the kids sue Kevin into oblivion and he has to give it all to the kids. Again, a lot of this money is being spent right now in her defense. Like tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars are going to this lawyer's pockets. And that money was built and made from the exploitation of children. How'd you know that's actually true? Just watched Just Friends yesterday. The way Ruby walked into the court with a smile, this is like, yeah, I didn't say that and catch that really. I mean, I thought it was sickening, but imagine about to plead guilty to literally what she just pled guilty to and walking into court with a smile. Idiot. Oh my gosh. This is probably true too. If you guys ask Ryan Reynolds, is Josh Barbour your favorite Canadian? He's probably going to be like, of course. Like, obviously, I have a Wrexham scarf behind this thing. Yeah, Bonnie's all of a sudden so patient and kind to her kids. Yeah, she's not. What? Ryan Reynolds was fired by Disney? Why? What? Sorry, getting off topic. When she looked at the camera, she made my stomach crawl. She's gross. Thing is, Ruby's going to spend a lot of time in prison, and I don't think they treat child people like that really nicely. So how it works is the victim makes a statement, then it is written in charges, counts as far as what she'll get will depend on the judges. Okay, that makes sense. Ruby should be held accountable for everything she has done to all her children, not just the two that she was caught doing. I agree. And their whole lives were exploited on the internet. Bonnie's husband's been weird in recent vlogs. He's been weird all the time. He wasn't even at the hearing. Yeah, exactly. Bonnie's still capitalizing and writing stuff. She wasn't there. You weren't even there. You don't even go here, Bonnie. And that statement's really weird to hear. It's like, are you in support of? It sounded like she was in support of this and like wants the judge to be lenient on her, but I don't know. It was a really weird post. So Ruby can take this entire family down. I bet you Sherry could too. Okay, she could take this entire family down with what she knows. And the family right now is getting off scot-free because Ruby's did this. It's not going to come out now. It's hidden forever in the outer darkness. Yeah, I saw that. I don't want to. No, I guess. Oh, it doesn't let me save it. I can't show it. The system is so flawed. Ruby, should be suffering in prison right now for the rest of her life. She has ruined her children's whole lives. Yeah. Let's not forget, guys, that the trauma that these two children, all of them suffer, but the trauma that they suffered, this is gonna live with them. This is the rest of their lives. So I hope the judge takes in consideration the trauma that they've suffered and that what's gonna, be the road ahead for them. She's absolutely getting the fact she's being gossiped about, even in this manner. Disgusting human being. Agree with you, Whitney. I agree with you. Yeah, Jody's absolutely still in jail. She's gonna get minimum this or more too, of course. Does her exploiting her kids come into consideration in court? You know what? That's a good question. And no, because there's not going to be a trial, but that would have been great. Honestly, that would have been a great question that a prosecution could come up and be like, hey, let's talk about this whole family vlogging world. That stuff would have had to come up eventually, right? Like, that's a big part of this. Like what she portrayed online compared to what was in the reality behind the scenes, the Chad going to Anastasia, all that kind of weird stuff, like the no door, sleeping on a beanbag, all that stuff would come out, like starving your child, waiting to go to the hospital when your kid and then having a shower and a bath before you went to the hospital because you just didn't feel like it. Like there's a lot there that would have come up and that would have been really important. So all of family vlogging is breathing a sigh of relief right now because of her taking this plea deal. Coward. This is true, though. This is true. At least this way our kids don't get the added trauma of testifying against their mom since she pleaded. Like, I do. Yes, I fully agree with that. Will the kids have? No, they're not going to testify anymore. No, I honestly believe you're right. I think she's arrogant. I think she's going to be not guilty. Well, I don't know. Can she? Now that Ruby literally is pleading guilty, I don't know. Would it look really stupid? I don't know. I think all the siblings could take the family down with what they have done by exploiting all their kids, plus all the weird stuff they've personally done. I don't know if the kids know about the weird stuff that like people are alleging out there, but like swinging and stuff like that and incest and all that stuff. I don't know if the kids know about all that stuff, but Ruby knows. Josh, I would love to share my MCFD. I don't know what that means. I study child development. This is going to hurt their growth and well-being, their mental, physical, and development. Don't forget that these kids were in the developmental stages of their life. Like these aren't just kids that like these kids were like, geez, like this is going to ruin them. And it's going to follow them forever because they were made famous by their mom who exploited them on YouTube. We wouldn't even be talking about this, I don't think, at all, if Ruby wasn't who she was, it did what they did, her and Kevin. This wouldn't be such a big deal. I mean, it's a huge deal, but it wouldn't be such a big deal in this world, especially on YouTube, right? She did this to them on top of what she did to them. She made them famous. This is why you should never be able to show your kids to the degree that they did. You should never be able to do this because this is what informed consent means. Do you think, and Ruby's talked about asking her kids for consent, but they can't because do you think they would have consented having known this, right? That's why informed consent matters. That's why you're never going to be able to get your kids consent because they will never know the outcome of it. Doesn't make it any better. She intended to harm the child. I'm just trying to help you understand why it wouldn't be attempted murder. No, I appreciate that. It's absolutely, I totally understand what you're saying. I know. And I'm just being emotional about it. I think most people are like that, and I understand why professionals got to do what they got to do too. These kids, yeah, when someone Googles these kids' names, they're going to have to, like, you know, all this stuff pop. These kids are going to have to change their names. Someone says, you know, Kristen Brown says, I'm surprised they were not charged with malnourishment. That was one of the charges that was dropped, actually. Ministry of Children and Family Development. Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you about that for sure. If you know stuff that I don't know, absolutely. Let's hope they can change their names and get away from most, because again, hear me out. Most of their family wasn't there for them either. They're going to remember that. I might have missed you talking about this, but Kevin is just not getting charged with anything. I feel like there's no way he didn't know. Yeah, we did talk about this a little bit. Yeah. And I said this, no legal system may not care about Ruby. They'll only take down Jody for the extensive record she has. Okay. I hope they treat her really bad in prison. And Lissa says, at least YouTube took away their logo and tried to distance themselves. Yeah, I mean, after it happened, right after. YouTube does little things a little bit too late. But going back to the Kevin thing, yeah, like he had legal rights to his children. You can talk about Bonnie and all them and how they tried everything, which I don't think they did, but they have to say, like, look, we have no legal recourse. We had no legal rights to those children. So that's what they would say. Kevin did. Kevin did have legal rights to his children. And for the 4 months his child's being tortured, where were you? He has the right to call the police and say, where are my kids? He had the legal right. And he's just getting off here. It's crazy. Kevin is not going to have custody of his kids ever again. Not going to happen. Kevin could have went to a lawyer and fought for custody. Yeah. And yep. But they weren't divorced. The thing is, they weren't. There was not even a legal separation in place yet at this point when this was all going on. They were nothing. They were just like, he just moved out. And he just filed for divorce recently. So, again, he had legal rights to call the police and say, I want to know where my kids are. They've been at this crazy lady Jody's house. Please go check on my children. I feel like he may be charged after Ruby and Joe. I hope so. Like, I really, really hope so. I don't know who's going to get custody. This is the scariest part about this. Sorry. Are they going to go to the system? Who's going to get custody? I don't know. Because none of the families decided to step up. So I don't know. These kids are in limbo, and it's actually really, 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 really sad to think about. All of them. All of them are in limbo right now. Yeah, he didn't do anything to help her stop this stuff. I think that kids will have to testify if Jody takes a trial. I think you're probably right, because especially the kids that she's being accused of abusing. Yeah, I think so. He should at least get failure to protect, because she's being charged with failure to protect. That's for sure. So you're right. He should too. Jeez. All right. Well, we're about an hour and a half into this, and this was today. I didn't put up today's video just because I knew I was going to go live with this, and sorry it took me a little bit long. Also, dad duty tonight took me away. I couldn't go earlier. I'm sorry for those who live in weird places that are late. I apologize for not going a little earlier. But thanks for being here. Thanks for these conversations and something that I'm learning, and you guys, help me figure out that I missed a big part of that. I really enjoy talking about these things with you. It's just like sitting around having a good conversation about this stuff, because it elevates the conversation, in my opinion. I really do think that this is what we do here differently on Real Crime with the DCP. I really want to do more of this. I really think that this is the way to do this. There's lots of people, like, crowdsourcing information, a bunch of brains together, I think is always better. Some people's brains are a little weird, though. Let's be real. My experience with going through the trial for custody and reporting my co-parent 9 times to CPS for abuse against special needs, he still got 50-50. Yeah. Yep. The system is flawed. The system fails, and it's always against children for some reason. I think we can agree on that. It also depends on their ages. It might take a mediator. Yeah. So, yeah, sending love to those kids. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, guys, thanks for being here again to the Dad Challenge podcast. I really appreciate you being around and being here for these conversations. And I will see you tomorrow for more of a lighthearted video. Obviously, it's Doherty Doesn't Snark tomorrow. So be there. be square. We'll continue to cover this, obviously, till the end. So thank you so much. Don't forget, you are valuable. You are amazing. You're incredible. People need you. Protect your kids.